chain. To understand food chain, let's look up at each of these examples. In the first examples, we see here are the trees or the grass, and that's eaten by a deer. So the energy from the trees, which is captured during photosynthesis, is transferred to the deer, and from the deer is then eaten by the tiger. So the energy from the deer is now transferred to the tiger. So this is a food chain in a forest, an example of a food chain in the forest. Look at the next example. Here we have again plants which produce the food by capturing the energy from sunlight. This plant is then eaten maybe by a grasshopper. So the energy is now transferred to the grasshopper. The grasshopper is eaten by a frog, so the transfer of energy is into the frog. The frog is now eaten by the snake, so the energy is transferred to the snake, and from the snake it's then eaten by a carnivore like an eagle or a vulture, and its then energy is transferred to the vulture. So this is another example of a food chain in a grassland. The next example, again, we always begin with the plants because it's only the plants that can capture the energy at the first level. The plant could be eaten by an insect like a scorpion. The scorpion is then eaten by the fish, so there's a transfer of energy to the fish. The fish is then eaten by the crane or the stork, so the transfer of energy takes place to the stork. So gradually you see the energy is transferred from one level to the other. This is an example of a food chain in a pond. Now in all these three food chains that we have learnt, we see the first level is always occupied by the producers. The first level. The second level is usually occupied by small consumers. The small consumers could be here the scorpion, here the grasshopper, or the deer, and this are the small consumers. We call it the second level, the second trophic level. Each of this level is called the trophic level. Then we come to the third level. Now the third level is usually consumed by a carnivore. Here we have the frog. Okay, so this is the third level. We call it the secondary consumer. And these secondary consumers are nothing but small carnivores. Here when we go up to this small consumers, they were the herbivores. And these herbivores, they consumed the producers. We could call the second level also as primary consumers. And then in the end we have these large animals that eat the smaller carnivores, and we call them tertiary consumers. They are the large carnivores, and they form the fourth level. The second level is by herbivores. This is the third level. This is the fourth level. So the energy first enters into the producers from the sun. From the producers are all autotrophs. So these we call them as the autotrophs. They occupy the first level. Then from the producers, the energy is transferred to the herbivores, which are at the second level, or they're called the primary consumers. From the primary consumers, the energy then goes to the secondary consumers, which are small carnivores. From the secondary consumers, it then goes into the tertiary consumers, which are large carnivores. To go over the pyramid of trophic levels, we see the producers. They occupy the first primary level or the first trophic level. These are all producers which are able to prepare their own food. At the second level, second trophic level, we have the herbivores. Then at the third level, the third trophic level, we have small carnivores. And at the last level, or the fourth trophic level, we have the large carnivores. We also call them the tertiary consumers. Because we have the producers, we have the primary consumers, which are herbivores, the secondary consumers, which are small carnivores, the tertiary consumers, which are large carnivores. And if you notice here, the population of the producers is the largest, and as we go higher and higher, the population of the organisms keep on decreasing. In the next slide, we will see why this happens. There are a large number of producers, there are lesser herbivores, and even lesser small carnivores, and the least large carnivores. Let's go ahead and learn the energy flow in the food chain. We have to begin with the sun. Of all the energy that falls on the plants, only 1% of the energy is converted into food by the plants. The primary consumers then consume the plants, and there's a transfer of only 10% of the energy. Then the secondary consumers consume the primary consumers, they feed on the primary consumers, and again there's a 10% transfer of energy into the next level. Similarly, another 10% transfer of energy to the tertiary consumers. So at every level, only 10% of energy is transferred from one level to the other. Clear in this picture. Here, the energy present in the plants is 10,000 kilocalories. But the energy available or that is transferred to the next level, that's in the rabbit, is 10% of 10,000, and 10% of 10,000 is 1,000 kilocalories. So 1,000 kilocalories are available at the primary consumer. Then the energy transfer that takes place from the primary consumer to the snake will be only 10%. So 10% of 1,000 is 100. So 100 kilocalories are available at the secondary consumer level. The next transfer is another 10%. So 10% of 100 is 10 kilocalories. So 10 kilocalories are present in the last level. So if you have seen, the amount of energy at the first level is so high. There's a large amount of energy available. In the next level, the amount of energy available is less. And in the last, it's least. Therefore, the population of the animals keep on decreasing. Go back to the slide and we see that the producers are maximum. Then the secondary level, there are less animals. Tertiary level, even less animals. And in the fourth trophic level, there are the least animals, because the amount of energy available keeps decreasing at every level of the food chain. Let's understand this transfer of energy with this example. Now 10,000 kilocalories were available at the plants, but at the rabbit level there was only 1,000 kilocalories available. And this is because the 9,000 kilocalories have been used up for the life activities of the organism, maybe for growth, for reproduction, and for other life activities. So only 9,000 were used for life activities, 1,000 kilocalories were available at the rabbit level. Now from the rabbit level, when we go to the snake level, there are 100 kilocalories available at the snake level. what happened to the 900 kilocalories? They were used up for the life activities of the rabbit, for reproduction, for growth, and other life activities. Now when we go from the snake to the eagle, we see at the eagle level there is only 10 kilocalories available, because the 90 kilocalories were already used up for the life activities of the organism. Thus we see that the energy available in the higher levels keeps on decreasing at a rate of 10%. We'll take up yet another example to understand this 10% rule. So at the first level we have 20,000 kilocalories. Now 10% of 20,000, if you calculate 10% of 20,000 becomes 2,000. So 2,000 kilocalories are available at this level, at the next level, primary consumers. From the primary consumers, when energy is now transferred to the secondary consumers, again when we do the calculation, we will do 10% of 2,000. And that 10% of 2,000 will be 200. So 200 is now available at the next level. Now to calculate for the next, from the secondary consumers to the tertiary consumers, here you will do again 10% of 200. And 10% of 200 is 20 calories. So 20 kilocalories available at the tertiary level. Now to find out the transfer level from the tertiary consumer to the next level, again you will do 10% of 20, and that is 2 kilocalories available at the last level. So as you go higher up, at a higher trophic level, the amount of energy available is always decreases, and hence the population also keeps decreasing. And the food chain cannot support more than 3 to 4 trophic levels, because at the higher level there is very little energy available to support a large population. So every food chain will have only 3 to 4 levels, and very rarely sometimes maybe 5 levels. The food chain consists of only 3 or 4 levels, because only 10% of energy is transferred to the next level. The energy loss is so great that very little usable energy remains after 4 levels. Let's go ahead and learn the characteristics of food chain. The first characteristics, it consists of a series of animals eaten and being eaten. Second, food chain is always a straight line. Next, energy flow is unidirectional, sun to producer to consumer. It consists of 3 to 4 trophic levels. Only 10% of the energy is transferred to the next level. Population of organism decreases as we go to higher levels. Let's learn the characteristics of the energy transfer. The first point, only 1% of energy that falls on the leaf is converted into food energy, which means if we have like 100 joules of energy falling on the leaf, only 1 joule will be converted into food by the leaf, which is then available to the herbivores and then to the carnivores and so on. Next point, a great deal of energy is used up for the life activities of the organism. Only 10% is transferred to the next level. That we have seen in the earlier examples. The food chain consists of 3 to 4 levels. Next point is the lower trophic levels have a larger population, and the number of organisms at the higher level decreases. The energy flow is unidirectional, sun to producer to consumer, never backwards.